And then let's take a moment and cultivate our motivation. So begin just with asking yourself, well, what was my motivation for coming here this evening? There's no right or wrong answer, but just ask yourself that question. What was my motivation and my intention for coming this evening? And then whatever our initial intention was, let's build upon it and think that we'll be here this evening to learn and discuss so that we can identify our good qualities and increase them, so we can identify our weaknesses and learn the antidotes to them. And let's do this not simply for our own well-being, but remember that we live in a planet where we're completely dependent on other living beings just to stay alive. And so let's generate the thought to work on ourselves so that we can be of greater benefit to other living beings. And to benefit them not only in this life, but also through developing ourselves spiritually so that we can also help them on the spiritual level and lead them to full awakening. And so what we're doing this evening is one step going in that direction. And it's an important step. Have that as a motivation for sharing the evening together. Then, morning meditation, open your eyes. So, don't believe everything you think. It's not just don't believe everything the politicians say. That too. But don't believe everything we think. And the reason for that is that sometimes the way we think is pretty screwy. Have you noticed that sometimes? Sometimes in the heat of something going on, the way we think seems fine. And then the next day or the next month or the next year, we'll look back and we'll say, what in the world was I thinking that I did X, Y, and Z? How in the world was I thinking something so crazy like that would work out? Have you had that experience? Yeah, probably. But when we're in the middle of thinking something, it's like, well, this seems, just completely like the right thing to do. So we need to develop some wisdom to learn how to discriminate, what is a constructive way of thinking and acting, and what is a destructive way of thinking and acting. And to not only discriminate between them, but then, have the internal wherewithal to be able to actually choose what we want to do, instead of just going by habitual patterns, or going by what society expects us to do, or what our family wants us to do. Okay? So really becoming aware. I think that's kind of the essence of being a human being, is becoming aware, not just being an automaton. You know? And I think now, especially with things going so fast in our culture, and the influence that the media has on our lives, I think so often we just go on automatic and we give up our freedom of thought and just follow what the media says. Commercials say that you have to buy X, Y, and Z, and we do it. And the media says we have to look a certain way, and we do whatever we need to do to our body to make us look that way. We try and look that way, but we never succeed. And so we just kind of go along with a lot of things without really sitting and thinking, well, why am I doing this? You know, is this really a worthwhile action? Or is it something that down the road is going to be detrimental? And so lots of times, because of not slowing down and thinking, we find ourselves in a lot of messes. Anybody have that happen to them? Yeah. So sometimes the external situation is the mess. Sometimes my behavior is the mess. Have you ever found yourself in the middle of saying something, and one part of your mind says, shut up, this is not the right thing to say now? You ever had that happen? And you keep saying it anyway, even though you know it's just going to incite a big argument, and that you don't really mean it, but it keeps coming out of your mouth while you're saying, shut up, don't say this. Okay? And then we think that we have control. So we have to learn how to slow down and watch our thoughts and watch our behavior and really make wise decisions, wise choices. Not let the habitual energies just push us. Yeah. Not let societal pressure or family pressure or even our own thoughts push us in a direction that we know isn't really wise or isn't really beneficial. So lots of times we choose to do something that brings us short-term pleasure, but long-term it's not good for us. Yeah? You ever done that? We do lots of things. It's like, oh, this can make me feel good now. I'll worry about the rest later. And so we get into credit card debt. I want this. This can make me happy now. I'll worry about how to pay for it later. And then we're in credit card debt and we don't know what to do. Okay. Or substance abuse is a really good example of this. You know, I want instant pleasure. Where's my drink? Where's my dope? Where's my whatever it is? Yeah. And not thinking, what's the long-term effect of drinking and drugging on my life and on the people I care about? And then winding up in a mess. So, you know, we really need to kind of slow down and think, not just about the short-term pleasure, but about long-term benefit. Yeah, long-term benefit. Because short-term pleasure is gone in the next instant. Isn't it? Oh, I want that ice cream. And, you know, how long does the pleasure of the ice cream last? And then how long does the poor health, you know, from having too much cholesterol and high blood pressure and all of that, how long does that last? And what's the long-term effect of that? But we so often ignore long-term things. Just, you know, I want what I want when I want it. Give it to me. We're really kind of pleasure addicts. And this propels a lot of our life. And as a result, we wind up in a lot of messes. true or not true? Is this true in your life? And so we run after pleasure, and we get a little bit of pleasure, and then that pleasure doesn't usually last as long as we want it to. I mean, pleasure really should last longer, shouldn't it? But it doesn't last as long as it's supposed to. And then, when it's gone, we feel kind of let down. Or sometimes, we don't even get the pleasure that we thought we were going to get. You know, we work so hard to get something, and, you know, it's like, now I'm going to get it. And then we find out that it isn't really as great as we thought it was going to be. You know, maybe there's some kind of job that you really wanted, and you did backflips to get this job. And I think, wow, I have this fantastic job. And you go in there and start work, and it's like, boring. So, you know, this is just the nature of our life, you know, living in an imperfect world. And so how do we learn to work with all these situations and not believe everything we think when what we're thinking is rubbish? Like the thought, I should always have happiness. Sounds like a wonderful thought, right? I should always have happiness. The world owes it to me to be happy. Is that thought kind of somewhere in your mind? Yeah? The world owes it to me to be happy, and I deserve happiness. Now, is that a reasonable thought? I should always be happy. I should always get my way. Everything should always be the way I want it to be. Not the way other people want it to be, unless, of course, they agree with what I want. Is that a reasonable thought? That everything should always happen my way? And I should get what I want when I want it? And everybody should be nice to me, and nobody should complain about me. Because after all, I'm really wonderful, and the world is so fortunate to have me in it. So we have this kind of, you know, mind that is so focused on I, me, mine, all the time, and thinking that we, you know, I don't have to contribute anything to anybody, but I should always be happy and get my way. I shouldn't have to cooperate with anybody else. They should have to cooperate with me. Do you have that kind of thought? Or is it only me? Huh? We have those thoughts, don't we? Everybody should be nice to me. Everybody should think the way I think. Because after all, I'm right. I wouldn't believe anything wrong. Even if I change my mind tomorrow, what I believe is still right. Even if it's the opposite of what I believe today, which is also right. Because whatever I believe, whenever I believe it, happens to be the right thing. So everybody should agree with me. I should win all arguments. Actually, there shouldn't be an argument to start with. People should know I was right. I shouldn't even have to fight with them. They should know that. I just do things my way automatically. And these people are so stupid. You know, somehow they don't get it. That I'm right and I'm smart and I know how they should all live their lives. What a setup for suffering. That way of thinking is a total setup for suffering. Because when is that ever going to happen in the world? Yeah? When So it would be much more reasonable to think, I'm not going to get my way. Things are not always going to go the way I want. How can I be happy anyway? The people I love are not always going to do what I want them to do. The government is definitely not going to do what I want it to do. Unless you really like government shutdowns. So how can I be happy when I'm not going to get what I want? And how, when we look at that question, the answer has something to do with letting go of our own self-centeredness. Because as long as everything is always centered around me and my happiness and what I want and my opinions and my views and my preferences and my family and my job and my country and whatever it is, as long as we're seeing the world in that way, it's a setup for, a lot of misery. Because, us, our group, our country, or whatever it is only one among many. And everybody else wants happiness too. And everybody else has ideas about what brings happiness. So I think, part of the way to happiness is to let go of these unrealistic views that we have, thinking just about ourselves, and instead start to include other living beings in our thoughts. Like, I can be happy rejoicing at somebody else's happiness. You think that's a possibility? Yeah. Can you look at somebody else being happy and rejoice that they're happy? What about if it's somebody you don't like? Like that person who calls you and won't shut up and just talks and talks and talks and talks when you have to go somewhere. You ever had that kind of person call you? We're not like that, are we? Nobody here talks too much. But we all know people who talk too much. Don't we really wish that person happiness too? If you're a Republican, do you wish a Democrat happiness? If you're a Democrat, can you wish a Republican happiness? That sounds almost impossible. But if we're going to have happiness ourselves, we have to make it some kind of possibility. Because otherwise we're setting our own selves up for misery. So loosening the self-centeredness, loosening this thing that it's all about me. Me first. I, me, my, mine. So when it says, don't believe everything you think, that means, all these self-centered thoughts, to put some space around them and really question them and not necessarily believe them. And all these opinions we have about other people, to really cast some doubt. Like when we say, I'm so unhappy because so-and-so did this and that. When we say that, we're totally convinced that person is the cause of my unhappiness. And the solution is they have to change now. But actually, whatever somebody else is doing is not the cause of our unhappiness. How we respond to what other people do is the cause of our unhappiness. Because we cannot control what other people do. We can only control what we think. And if every time somebody does something, our mind starts spitting out all these judgmental opinions, then we're going to be really unhappy. No matter what somebody else does, we're going to be miserable because of the way they're thinking. Have you ever had it happen that somebody gives you a present and you should think, wow, how, kind of them, they thought of me and they gave me a present, but instead your mind says, why are they giving me a present? They want something out of me. Now I'm obliged to them. I don't like being obliged to somebody else. You ever had that kind of thought come when somebody's giving you a present? So you could just as easily say, wow, how kind of them. And just accept it and say thank you. And even if they wanted to make you feel obliged, that doesn't mean you have to feel that way. And it all depends on how we look at the situation. So it's really when we're practicing Buddhism, we're training our mind to think in constructive ways that will actually bring about our own and others' happiness. So not to believe everything we think, especially, those self-centered thoughts. So this book is it's based on a poem that was written several centuries ago in Tibet, halfway around the world, in the country that didn't even have wheels. Can you imagine it? Tibet didn't have wheels until like the 1950s. And yet, this poem, when you really get into it, it describes our life too, even though it was written halfway around the world and several centuries ago. So the poem has 37 verses, so it's called the 37 Practices of Bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas are beings with great love and compassion who are really working for the welfare of all living beings and who aspire to become fully awakened Buddhists. So this talks about their 37 practices. So I one time at Sravasti Abbey over a weekend, I gave teachings on the poem, and then some people transcribed it and made it into a book, and it was published for free distribution in Singapore. But then people here couldn't get it, so I decided, let's enlarge the book and get it published in the U.S. so that people here can have a chance to get it. And so the way it was enlarged was to collect stories from people about how these 37 practices, how they applied them in their lives. So sitting around the table, the kitchen table at Sravasti Abbey, people contributed stories, and then many people wrote to me and gave me stories. And so the book has stories in it that really, explain how the different, how to practice the different verses. So there's many different verses. Somehow when we were meditating, I had the idea it might be nice to talk about the verse about generosity. So let me find where it is here. Okay, so here's the verse in the poem. When those who want awakening or enlightenment must give even their own body, there's no need to mention external things. Therefore, without hope for return or any fruition, give generously. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Okay? So generosity is a human value no matter what religion you belong to, and it's a secular value too. It's not just a religious thing. The fact is that we live by sharing. We live by helping each other. by giving help, by receiving help. And our parents, taught us this since we were, this big. Yeah, didn't they? We have to start out sharing our things. I mean, even when we're babies, the parents will say, give me this, or give this to your brother or sister. And so we learn, to give, to share, that it's not all about me. So it's a very instrumental practice. And our whole society is actually founded upon generosity when you think about it. Now, we always have the idea, well, I worked and I earned something. But in actual fact, people gave us, they give you your paycheck, don't they? You may have worked, but they give you your paycheck. It's an act of generosity. And it would actually change a lot in our lives if we saw our work as an act of generosity. So instead of going to work with the idea of, I'm going to work to make some money so that I can do this and this and this and this, or I'm going to work to get famous and to get my ideas out into the mainstream and have people know about me, or, things like that. How often do we go to work because we really enjoy the work and we want to help the people that we work with? How many of you go to work with the thought of, oh, I get to benefit other people today? Not every day. That's good. I wonder if you do. That's really good. I've had other audiences where, hardly anybody raises their hand. Like in LA, you do that. Not so many people. But this is Missoula. You moved here for a reason. But to really think, if we're going to work, I'm really happy because I get to benefit somebody today. If you work in a factory kind of thing where you're producing something, you make it for the benefit of the people who will use it. If you're in a service job, you get to benefit the people who you're serving. And we also get to benefit our colleagues. Do you ever think of going to work to help the other people that you're working with? So they aren't swamped. So, there's so many ways where things we're doing anyway in our life we can change into acts of generosity by changing our thoughts. And I'm going there to do something kind for others. And if we have that motivation, it changes our whole experience of going to work. Now the trick is to be able to go to work and give what we have to give. But like it says here, without hope for return or any fruition. So to give, but without hope of, well, what are they going to give me as a result of that? Okay. And that one's hard to do, because you expect your paycheck, don't you? And you expect a Christmas bonus, and you expect a raise every once in a while. But to be able to give without, any expectation. You still may receive all those things, but your practice is taking delight in the giving. In other words, the delight in your work is just the process of giving, no matter what you get in return. Because if we're always hooked on what we're going to get in return, then again, we're setting ourselves up for misery and dissatisfaction, because we're never going to get what we think we deserve for all of our fantastic efforts. Yeah? Whereas if we train our mind that the delight is in the process of giving, then whatever we get in return, we feel very happy about it. remember holiday season at my home when I was growing up, and birthday season and all these things. And the process of figuring out the gifts to give to everybody else. And there was always a calculation on, well, what did they give us last year? And we have to spend about that much this year because we don't want to look cheap. But let's get something that doesn't cost so much but looks expensive. And then maybe the people will give us something really nice in return too. But we definitely don't want to look cheap. But we don't want to give them more, something worth more than what they give us either. Was that only my family that did that? A few other people's families did that? So I remember as a kid, seeing that whole way of planning and then thinking, what's this thing about giving them? What does really giving mean if there's all this calculation about what I'm going to get in the process of it? And all this thing, oh, well, I gave something. I shouldn't have given them something so expensive. And so you give, and then instead of feeling delight, you feel remorse. Okay? So, learning to give, but without the expectation of return. Or when it says here, return or any fruition, what that's referring to is, karmically, because when we give, karma simply means actions of our body, speech, and mind, and our actions have an ethical dimension to them. So when we act with kindness, we create the cause for happiness. When we act, with anger or craving or something like that, we create the cause for misery. So those long-term results are called the fruition. So we might, be real generous and think, okay, I'm not going to expect to get a present now back, but my next life, I'm going to be rich. So that motivation is still better than thinking about this life and getting some kind of reward this life. It's still better than that. But it's still wanting something for ourselves, isn't it? I'm going to be generous. Next life I'll be rich. Good. So to even, again, give up that wish for a karmic fruition and just give because we take delight in giving. That's it. No other reason. Now, of course, giving has to be done with wisdom. Otherwise, we become Mickey Mouse bodhisattvas. The Mickey Mouse bodhisattva, somebody comes into where you work and says, I need some money, and you open the cash register and give it to them. This kind of Mickey Mouse, not thinking. So we also have to really think when we give a gift. Is what I'm giving something that's really going to benefit the other person? Or is what I'm giving going to actually harm that person in the long term? Or even in the short term? So when somebody who has a substance abuse problem comes and asks you for money, is it kindness to give them money? Yeah. If you think that they're going to use it to feed their addiction, it's not kindness. It would be much kinder to say no, or to give them food. Yeah. Often when people are at the side of the road and with signs, carry some food and give them food instead of money. Everybody always needs food. Yeah. So to really think, what is going to be something beneficial for people. If your friend is very overweight, is it kind to buy them a cheesecake? Yes. Because maybe they'll give me some too. No, actually it's not, Help your friend out. So really to use our wisdom when we're giving. Give to appropriate people at appropriate times, appropriate things. And this can sometimes really require a great deal of thought. So there's the giving of material things. There's also what we call the giving of protection. So providing safety for beings who need safety. So this could be just even as much as little bugs drowning in a swimming pool when you fish them out, or any being who is in danger. We were hearing a story this evening about Vicky found a itty-bitty kitty in the middle of the road, and took it home and found a home for it. So even things like that, finding protection for beings that are in danger, whether they're human beings, maybe who are making bad decisions and putting themselves in dangerous situations, doing what you need to do to help them, or it could be animals. There's also the giving of love. And here I don't mean the giving of attachment, of the clingy love, of, I love you and you're mine, and you better do X, Y, and Z for me to continue to love you. I'm not talking about that, okay? I'm talking about love being just the wish that somebody else have happiness and the causes of happiness. And to extend that positive feeling towards everybody. Even we can't actually give them happiness and its causes, to at least want to do that. Now, a few weeks ago, when there was the circus in D.C., did any of you, was it easy to think kind thoughts of our representatives? It wasn't so easy, Did anybody sit there and think, may Ted Cruz have happiness? Yeah? Or may John Boehner have happiness because of it? That could be a little bit difficult. Of course, some people may think, switch it around and may Harry Reid have happiness in the causes. So in those kind of situations, it can sometimes be quite difficult. So just changing our mind to be able to wish somebody else well is the gift of love. And I think that really changes the energy in the place. Now, how we think creates, certain energy in society. It influences how we think, how we act. So during that whole circus, it really was a circus, wasn't it? At the Abbey, we certain days of the week we do bowing. We bow to the Buddha, and we bow very slowly and chant slowly. And I was making a special effort to envision the entire Congress around me. It was really weird. But to think of all those people, instead of all their posturing, that they were all with me bowing to the Buddha with great humility. Yeah. So I really tried to imagine that. You know, all of these guys kind of bowing with humility and chanting, and, you know, with reverence for enlightened qualities and so on. Because I felt that it was really necessary to give some love in that situation, because there was so much animosity. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I felt my own mind growing in animosity, and that doesn't do anybody. Okay, so giving material, giving protection, giving love, and then giving the Dharma. Okay? So that means sharing the Buddhist teachings, or sharing common sense. If you aren't a Buddhist, sharing things that are common sense with people who need some common sense and something beneficial. And so, for example, if somebody comes to you and they're really angry, you know, at somebody else, instead of saying, you know, I think that I agree with you. That other person is just totally wrong. They have no right treating you that way. You know, who do they think we are? Come on, we got to go and, you know, show them, you know, enact something against them so that they leave you alone. You know, instead of reacting that way when our friend comes to us and they're upset and angry, instead of siding with them and making them angrier and helping them to act on their anger, to step back and say, wow, you seem really angry and upset. Now, what is it that you really need in this situation? What is it that's really bothering you? How can we look at this situation in a helpful way? And so reaching out to that person with a wish to help them process and release their anger, instead of joining them in their anger and encouraging them to have revenge. Okay, so talking to people in ways that are helpful to them. It's giving them the Dharma. So, you know, you may have a friend who's having trouble at work, or a friend who has a relative who's ill. Some way of reaching out and, you know, with our words and with our actions, sharing, you know, things that will help that person. Okay. So let me see what the stories are in this chapter. I can't remember them. Maybe I'll read you the stories. Okay, this one's a little bit long, but it's a very good story. Okay, and this is true. This is from one of our friends in Spokane. So she said, life suddenly became very precious to me a year ago when I was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of breast cancer, which had spread to the lymphatic system. The word cancer throws you into an adrenaline spell of fear, panic, and overload. The word alone is almost enough to frighten you to death. The medical staff mentioned something about stages and blah, blah, blah. The terminology sounded like Swahili to me. Regardless, suddenly I was faced with having to accept the truth. Yes, me. I have a life-threatening disease. If left untreated, this would be the end. Death was looking my way. This woman was in her 40s at the time this story happened. I was petrified and in disbelief. While still in deep denial, I began to listen to what the team at the cancer center was telling me that the treatments could work was telling me that the treatments could work very well. Cancer is not a death sentence. However, the treatment matches the severity of the disease. Fight fire with fire, after all. So I reluctantly started the long process of chemo, surgery, and drug therapy, which would last nearly a year. As the chemo began, my concentration left, and I became unable to do my highly technical work. It was difficult to remember the year I graduated, let alone which algorithm I should use. My job and I soon parted. Then the realities of living crept back into my awareness. My family lives far away. Who would take care of me when I was too sick to dress myself and cook? How would I pay my bills? Can I burden my friends? The treatments progressed. I suffered from the side effects and got shingles as well. Not to mention the worst winter of the century. And the usual mishaps of life still show up, whether you have an illness or not. A snow plow hit my vehicle and then ran. The power went out at 5 below. I can laugh now a little. As my well-being began to spiral down, so did my career and finances. What followed was my personal financial disaster of 2009. Miraculously and simultaneously, dozens, if not hundreds, of professionals, volunteers, friends, and family soon rallied to my aid. Insurance came from the breast and cervical health screening program. My family was extraordinary and lovingly provided emotional support. My friends made heroic efforts, also often driving for hours to provide Reiki treatments and home care. They brought homemade meals and hats, but most of all, they brought love and affection. The medical professionals were and are tireless in their dedication and effort. The list is long. I cannot thank these people enough. Important help came from the Buddhist community, which is my true refuge. Dharma friends provided the internal tools to rebound and restore my attitude. They advised me, look for the kindness in others and be kind. That's all you need to do. Opening my eyes to this one simple practice was a huge revelation. This was a life-saving advice. I don't mean in the sense that it saved my life, but it made my life while I was sick an exploration of kindness. For example, out of deep empathy, the oncologists kept showing up, even though they knew they would have to make the patient uncomfortable, and that the patient may even hate them for it. One very angelic nurse even wrote to my elderly mother to keep her informed the entire time I was in treatment. I began to see just how much I had taken for granted. My health, my family, my friends, my spiritual friends, even those countless strangers who try and show sympathy and support with a smile or a hug or some help with the door, I had hardly noticed when lost in my own problems. Prayers from friends and strangers blossomed forth. I was even included in a prayer circle in a church on the other side of the country. Prayers from India and other countries too, such kindness. Where there is someone with cancer, there is also someone with a big open heart praying for all cancer patients. And I too could authentically pray for cancer patients, now knowing what it is like. We could support each other. While we're well supported in many ways, bills, transportation, and food continued to be very serious issues for me. I still needed more help. Fear and depression often bubbled up, as well as feeling overwhelmed and challenged. Sometimes I had the irrational need to find someone or something to blame. Absurd doubts came too. Was I a bad person? Had I done something wrong? Fear can surface in so many ways. I had to continuously return to the practice of looking for the kindness of others. One particular place I looked and found much kindness and generosity is right here in Spokane. we have a very, very special champion, one who is available to the neediest, the cancer patient care. Their mission is to make sure cancer patients can make ends meet with groceries, gas, to get to the doctor, and other resources. This was real practical help for my crisis. I made my way down to their office to see if I was qualified. There I met Katie, who would become my social worker. Approachable and with a good sense of humor, she immediately came to my assistance. CPC does so much more than I had imagined. They not only help me keep warm during the blizzards with money for the power bill, but also provided more personal items, such as fuzzy hats and cozy blankets, knit by volunteers. They warm my hearts with hours of advice, moral support, and old-fashioned listening. And then shopping sprees to the resource room for wigs, bandanas, and more hats. As I tried on the different personas, blonde, brunette, redhead, my spirits continued to lift. The support group they led also helped to dispel the feelings of loneliness and isolation. It was easy to see the kindness of the staff. They all want more than anything to be of help and to brighten a cancer patient's day. As the treatment progressed, the tumors shrank and the cancer was almost gone by the end of the chemo. This improved my prognosis quite a bit. Surgery removed the rest, and with the help of friends, I actually attended that surgery. I actually attended that surgery. She was quite resistant to having surgery. Drug therapy, physical therapy, and group therapy all helped restore my health. I can now see the wisdom of the different treatments and feel much confidence in the outcome. Cancer patient care stayed with me behind the most difficult times. Once I was well enough, they helped sponsor an exercise program for me. They sponsored other services like restorative treatments and foot massages. The annual picnic at the park keeps the cancer patient care community in touch. They let you know you are not alone. As the months went by, I felt I had always had somebody to turn to who understood my experience. I feel I have joined a large, warm, extended family. Okay. So she goes on talking about, all the kindness she received and the generosity she received and how important that generosity was to her, not only physically, but also mentally. And as we all know, our mental state plays a role in helping us to recover from physical illnesses. Okay. So there's a very, what she wrote was a very beautiful story about receiving others' generosity and receiving it with gratitude, even though she knew that she couldn't fully repay what had been given to her. So I think actually what she wrote here began as a talk to cancer patient care during the fundraiser, because that was her way of paying it forward, to help the organization so that they could help other people. Okay. But the whole idea is how essential generosity is to our existence as human beings, and what a big difference it makes when people give to us and when we give to them. One thing I've found sometimes, I don't know if you've had this problem, but if you ever had the experience of liking to give but feeling very uncomfortable about receiving? Yeah. How many of you have felt sometimes uncomfortable being the recipient of a gift or the recipient of care and affection? Sometimes our minds get into also very strange stories about this that are other things we should not believe. Like we become suspicious of somebody else's motive for giving. Or we burden ourselves with a feeling of obligation. Or we feel, I don't deserve it. Why is somebody giving to me? I'm not a good enough person. I'm not a nice enough person. We feel unworthy of somebody's gift. And sometimes people are even offering us the gift of care and affection. And we're going like this, and not accepting the care and affection that the people around us are offering. Because we don't feel good about ourselves. We don't feel deserving. And then that can actually hurt other people's feelings when we're like this. Or it happens sometimes people give us a compliment and we go, oh, no, that doesn't bite me. Yeah. Somebody says something nice, oh, no. And again, that's as, I never saw it this way until I really thought about it. But when somebody praises us and we just go, no, it's almost as if we're telling that person, you're foolish. Yeah, you don't know, you're not thinking correctly if you think something good is, there's something good about me. So it's actually kind of insulting to the other person. Yeah? We think it's being very humble and modest, but actually somebody's trying to give us a gift. And pointing out something that they appreciate so that we will rejoice, and they're rejoicing, and why shouldn't we? And they want us to feel good. And we go, like this. And I remember having that feeling a lot when I first started giving Dharma talks, and people sometimes would come up and say, oh, thank you for what you said, it was really helpful to me. And I would go, oh, no. I didn't say anything, it was nothing, it was, and I would feel so uncomfortable with it. So I remember asking one of my very dear Dharma friends who was also teaching, and I said, what do you do when people come up after talks and say, oh, thank you so much for what you did? He said, you say thank you. And it was like, yeah, people are giving me a gift. I should say thank you. That doesn't mean I have to get all arrogant and inflated because they said something nice. I don't have to go to that extreme, and I don't have to reject their praise out of fear of becoming arrogant. I can just say thank you and rejoice that they have, a very virtuous and positive mind. And then they feel good. Similarly, sometimes, people give us gifts, and again we feel, oh, no, I can't accept your gift. It's too expensive. I haven't given you something that nice. Like we want them to give us something just a little bit more expensive than what we give. But if they give something really more expensive, oh, no, I can't accept it. It's too nice. Okay, I'm unworthy. Yeah, or I'll feel obligated or whatever. Yeah. But again, in those situations, to be able to say thank you and accept the gift. And sometimes what I do is if I feel that sometimes people might give something that I know is very meaningful to them, that they really treasure a lot, and they give it to me, they want me to have it, but then also I can see that it's hard for them to give it up because it's something that they really like. So in those situations, I'll say, thank you, I accept the gift, and I also want to give it back to you. So that way we both create the delight in giving. I say, let me create some good karma, create some merit, and let me offer this back to you because I really want you to have it. Yeah. But I do accept it when you gave it to me. I'm not rejecting it. Okay. There's many ways to handle these kinds of situations that, where we really let the generosity flow, and we learn how to give with a kind attitude, and we also learn how to receive with a kind attitude. Okay, so maybe there's time for some questions and comments or something.
So, praise and accepting that as a gift. It's the side of where I often feel that I don't want to nurture the ego. You know, I don't want to nurture the self-cherishing. I don't want to bolster my self-confidence any further. And so I always am quite reluctant to accept that. I guess if you say thank you, what are some specific strategies that you can work with, having kind of accepted that gift, but also tempering the inflated sense of self?
Okay, so to be able to accept it and say thank you, but without going, I think there to remember that whatever skill or knowledge or ability we have came due to the kindness of others. When we were a baby, we didn't know how to do whatever it was that we're getting praised for. And we only learned how to do it because other people taught us. And even if we have some kind of ability to do that, that ability only got nurtured through other people's kindness in encouraging it and teaching us and so on. And so not to think, oh, this belongs to me because innately I am wonderful. But to say, you know, whatever I have came due to the kindness of others. And if somebody, you know, praises me, in my heart I have to say thank you to all the other people who helped me develop this ability. Because without them, I wouldn't have that. And it's true, isn't it? You know, if you're a good athlete or a good musician, or, you know, you can fix engines really well, whatever it is you do, you know, we all learn through other people's kindness and teaching us and encouraging our abilities. So there's no reason to get puffed up when we're praised. Any questions? Yeah.
What would you say about someone who promises a gift that will be delivered later, and just referring to that like an inheritance?
So, what do I think about somebody who promises a gift that will be delivered later, like an inheritance?
Right. Or it could be anything, really. You're going to get this when I die.
Okay. And so, what's your question exactly?
Well, how would you deal with that information without it becoming something that you think about receiving, or something that you resent getting, or, you know, how you deal with a gift that hasn't been given yet?
Okay, a gift that hasn't been given, but oh boy, I'm going to inherit some money, and I want them to live long, but I could use the money now. Kind of like that.
Kind of like that. Or, and then other people wanting it, and
or what?
Other people wanting it. And it seems like a lot of negativity around that gift.
Yeah. Then what I usually say is, whatever it is, it still belongs to the other person. Yeah, I have no ownership over that right at this moment. So there's no reason for my mind to get involved in, you know, making sure I get my fair share, or making sure this and that and the other thing, because it does not yet belong to me. It still belongs to the other person who's offering it. And things may change, and they may decide to give it to somebody else. Yeah, because people do change their minds, don't they? Yeah. and they rewrite their wills and they do things, and so, just, yes, things can change, and so I have no sense of ownership at it now because I don't own it. And if it comes, it comes, and if it doesn't come, it doesn't come.
Why do you suppose they like talking about it so much?
Who knows? But just let it go. Yeah?
How do you see negative, when you're a victim of negative actions, how do you see it in a positive way?
So you're what kind of negative actions?
Hate.
Okay. So you're a victim of hate.
Destruction.
Okay. Of destruction, like physical destruction.
Physical destruction.
Like that, or destroying your self-esteem, or
Destroying the car.
yeah, destroying your car. So how do you deal with that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the person who did that was happy or miserable?
It's likely miserable.
Most likely miserable. Yeah, because somebody who's happy and who feels good about themselves is not going to go and destroy your car.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to be somebody who's unhappy and somebody who's confused because they think that messing your car is going to make them happy, when it's certainly not going to make them happy. But in their state of confusion, they think that it will make them happy.
Oh, I see it in a positive way. Or destroy my car.
Yeah. Well, one thing is to have compassion for that person, okay, thinking they're suffering, they're unhappy, they're confused, they're creating a lot of negative karma that they're going to have to suffer the result of. And why is this situation happening to me? Because of ill deeds that I've done in the past.
Is it all my karma or is it partly theirs?
Okay, whenever we receive suffering, that's due to our own ill deeds, our own misdeeds created in the past. Whenever somebody causes suffering deliberately with a mind of attachment or anger or ignorance, they're creating the negative karma that they will have to experience the result of in the future. So the other person is creating negative karma. You're experiencing the result of your negative karma. If you get angry at them and want to retaliate, then you're creating more negative karma. Whereas if you say, this is the result of harmful actions I've done in the past, and then you say, have I ever mistreated somebody else's property? Okay. Well, who knows what in the world we did in our past lives. Yeah. For sure, in beginningless past lives, we've destroyed other people's property. But what about this lifetime? You ever destroyed somebody else's property? Did you ever take a toy that belonged to a playmate and smash it? Or deflate somebody's ball? Or sabotage somebody's project at work? Yeah. Were we all perfect, sweet little angels? Were we? Or did we sometimes, act in pretty nasty ways out of our own anger or jealousy? We just can destroy somebody else's property out of jealousy. Who knows what we did in grade school? My friend has a better thing than I do. That's no fair. I'm going to break their thing. Yeah. So, there's lots of ways in which we could have interfered with somebody else's happiness in the previous life, or in this life. And to just say, okay, this is coming back at me. I can't remember exactly what I did, but if my property is being destroyed, what I must have done is something that was not very nice towards somebody else's property. So instead of getting angry and wanting to destroy the other guy's car, I'm going to become more aware myself of my own actions and my words and my motivations, and really try and protect other people's property. So I'm going to take this as a learning experience. Okay. And so this way of thinking really challenges us. Do we really believe in karma? Or do we only believe in karma when nothing much is going on? Yeah. But the moment we experience the result of our own bad deeds, then our belief in karma stops. Yes, this is exactly what the really sharp weapons is about. Any questions? Yeah.
You mentioned when you were talking about gifts about how sometimes we burden ourselves with an obligation to give something back. How do you respond to somebody that gives you gifts and expects something in a different form, not necessarily a physical gift, but just expects your time or your something in return for the gift?
Okay. So somebody expects you to give something back. Okay. You don't have to take that expectation. They're giving you the gift. Yeah. And you don't have to take the expectation. It could be that you feel some gratitude and you want to give them something. That's fine. But you don't have to take on any feeling of obligation that they're putting in there. Or you could openly, if you're really feeling there's some other motivation going on when they're giving you something, to just bring it up and say, thank you very much, I know you need help moving next weekend. Yeah, and I wish I could help you, but I've already made plans. And just address what you think might be their expectation directly. Expressing some care and some wish to help, but, not taking that on just because the other person wants you to have it. So we can choose how to repay their kindness. Yeah. We may repay it, by praising them or, expressing appreciation or giving them a gift or doing them a favor or just smiling and saying, you have a very warm heart and you're really kind and thank you. So we can choose what we want to give. Speaking about giving, before I forget, the Abbey is involved in a grassroots organization in Pandering County. We're just across the border. Well, actually, we're across two borders. Yeah, we're in Washington State. Our itty-bitty county has 110 homeless teens in it. And it's getting cold, and the kids need homes, and they need warm jackets and boots and socks and underwear and warm underwear and things like that. And so if you have things that, if you look in your cupboard, in your closet, in your drawers, and they're really kind of full and you don't think you're going to get around to wearing all those things because you only have one body and 15 items, or even 7 of that item, and you would like to have the opportunity to help some homeless teens, ages 12 to 18, both boys and girls, who need, snow boots and warm socks and all those kinds of things for winter. Then tomorrow the teachings are at the Zen Center, which is where?
702 Brooks.
702 Brooks. Don't ask me where that is. Okay, that way. Okay. That way somewhere. Yeah.
By Rose Memorial Park, on the corner of Franklin and Brooks.
Okay. So just bring the things there, and then we'll take it back to Newport with us and give it to. We have it's Pandaray County Youth Emergency Services. And we're just a grassroots organization. A bunch of people came together because we can't stand the idea of kids sleeping under a bridge when it's cold. You may have a similar kind of thing in Missoula too that you may want to reach out to. Anything else? Okay, then we'll start the reading sharp weapons tomorrow morning at 702 Brooks. It's near the Rose Garden. Okay. Good. So let's just sit for a moment. We'll call this digestion time. So think about something you heard and think of how you can take it home and make it part of your life. But maybe this whole idea of generosity itself being the thing you take delight in, not in receiving something back because you've been generous. Think of how you can implement that or something else you've heard.